There is this one last burning question I have in my head. The topic I want to speak about is Kundalini.
Okay.
And how it's linked to enlightenment, moksha, spiritual advancement, tantric practice in general. Because when you live in India, you get access to multiple schools of spiritual evolution. So you can go down a Kriya Yoga path. They talk about Kundalini and the power of the spine in that path as well. Kundalini is spoken about in Kundalini Yoga. The Kundalini is spoken about in Tantra as well.
Yes.
What we believe as Hindus is that there exists a form of energy in your lowest chakra. It takes the form of a serpent. And through the course of your own spiritual journey, that energy of that serpent is able to go up, travel up your spine, combines with your third eye chakra at your forehead. And that is when great spiritual change and or great damage, if you do this whole practice in an unguided manner, can take place in your life. And do you think the Kundalini is a topic worth mentioning in detail in this episode?
Yes, all topics are worth mentioning. Why not Kundalini? More or less what you said is correct, but more or less that's the theory. There's a gap between theory and reality. So it is not that only when the Kundalini reaches here at the Shastra chakra that a person is able to spiritually advance. The moment the Kundalini starts moving, there is going to be an advancement. Okay, a change in reality, in the perception of reality. That is what the key thing about Kundalini is. It changes your perception of reality. Okay, and as it goes deeper, as the awakening of the Kundalini happens step by step properly, and it's very rare for an individual to have the Kundalini perfectly awakened through all the chakras. It's very rare. Little bit of movement, yes, possible, etc. It automatically changes your perception, your clarity, your vision. It's like an additional power, Shakti, that is infused, like an injection that has been given to you by the divine. Now, Shakti is like a sword, double edged sword. It can cut something else, or if you don't know how to use it, it can cut you. Okay. So that's why guidance is important. Kundalini was never a thing that was to be focused on without a guru. It is always a guru or a guide or a mentor who is needed who can handle this. Or there's a better way to handle Kundalini, by the way, which is worship of deities. So when you worship a deity, your Kundalini is going to first manifest as a deity. Yes. Your Kundalini is a is a tremendous amount of raw power that will be generated from within your subconscious mind. Okay. Tremendous amount. And that takes the shape of a deity. And this is a very deep concept. Since we are anyway coming into this topic, so I'll elaborate on this. The deities are great archetypes that are there. There's a Shiva, there's a Kali, there's a Durga, there's a Kamakhya, right? Somewhere in some plane. You are not going to reach them so easily. But as you keep doing your practices, the Kundalini will awaken one day on its own. If your practices are correctly aligned, as the Kundalini awakens, it will take on a shape and formation. Kundalini's nature, Shakti's nature is that it hangs on to something. Okay. It is like a fluid energy. Imagine water. Water, you can put it in a cup, it takes the shape of the cup. You can put it in a saucer, it takes the shape of the saucer. Kundalini does exactly that. Once it comes out, it's a tremendous force. It requires an adhar, a container, to take a shape. There, if you have been worshipping a specific deity, and it could be even Ganpati, for example, it will take the shape and formation of Ganpati, and it will create an astral formation of the deity. But your own personal deity, who will interact with you, will have all the abilities that you have imagined. You will start developing certain kind of, for lack of words, we call siddhis, things like that, special, very fine, very advanced amount of sensory as well as psychological abilities, even to the extent of things which we call as mind reading. Not mind reading, it's more like clairvoyance, clairaudience, various things. It depends on the individual. And eventually, that formation in the astral plane of the deity will one day, if a practice is correct, when the Kundalini reaches here or it comes here at a certain point, it will take you to the actual deity and merge into it eventually.
So, sorry, sir. You're saying that there's a point where Kundalini Jagran or awakening of your Kundalini takes place
Yes.
over the course of your spiritual practice.
Yes.
And post that point, if your body and brain are able to survive the awakening of a Kundalini, which is also a key factor. They say that you can go crazy.
Yeah, so the crazy aspects happen about 10, 15, 20%. Many of the people survive it well. But that by itself, just awakening of the Kundalini is not spiritual development.
Okay.
Okay. So that is like you're putting in jet fuel into your car. Spiritual development is reaching the destination.
So, say if you've used tantric practices to advance spiritually, there will be a day where your Kundalini awakens.
Yes.
That leads to the formation of a deity, which is kind of your personal deity.
Correct. But its look, shape, form will be exactly like the deity that you're worshipping. So if you're worshipping Shiva, or if you're worshipping Kamakhya, for example, if a person has a Kundalini awakening, that Kundalini will take the shape and form of Kamakhya or of Shiva. It is not the original Shiva, but it is like original Shiva is like an archetype, vast. It's not just for Hindus or etc. It's for something that's eternal. Okay, it will have an exact replica, reflection, and a certain degree of the same amount of power of the deity also. But it will interact only with you as the Upasaka and start guiding you higher.
You'll be able to see it.
You might, or you might hear it. There are people who do mantra sadhana, for example. Very recently, somebody I know is doing mantra japa and then started hearing sounds at a particular time of a pile. Women wear piles, right? So there's a Devi Upasana he was doing and he hears a certain sound. That's a very typical indication of a certain kind of Kundalini's activation.
Is there any way to tell that someone is close to their own point of activation of Kundalini?
One has to be observed carefully. There's no one thumb rule.
Okay.
But the idea is that one should not look forward to just a Kundalini awakening, because that, again, just Kundalini is like as I said, like a jet fuel. It makes processes run very fast. But if you don't know where you are going, you can crash.
Got it.
Just to add a bit to the last section that I was describing, the iconography of Kamakhya, and there is that lotus that comes in at the end. That lotus is itself an indication of the Kundalini awakening. Once these two stages have been crossed by the Upasaka, then the Kundalini awakens. And from there, Kamakhya descends into the Upasaka's mind and body.
Okay. Do you wish to talk about the spine at all?
Yes. So spine, the human spine has 6 psychological chakras. Psychological, because if you do an anatomic dissection, you won't find any of this. So there are believed to be 72,000 nadis, energy, the channels to which energy flows into the body. There are places where these come together, specifically crisscross each other, and those are specific energy points in the body. So like this, there are 6 of them. Okay, from the Muladhara, Swadhisthana, like this, there are 6 of them. In some texts they mention even 9 and 12 also, in some older texts. So mind you, these are psychological points. They don't have a physical existence, but psychology is far more powerful than the physical world, by the way. Always remember this: that which is more subtle is way more powerful than the physical. The subtle can control the physical. We follow laws, but laws don't have a physical existence. They are a shared, agreed upon idea, and the idea is so powerful that it is making you behave in a certain way. So it's controlling the physical. So the psychological actually controls the physical. So this way, there are 6 chakras. As Kundalini goes, these chakras are mostly closed in an individual or functioning partially. As it goes up, it opens up each of these chakras. Various powers start manifesting. Clarity emerges in that. A tremendous amount of exceptional clarity. It's like the glasses have been, it's like you were wearing hazy glasses and you clean it and suddenly everything looks brighter and more sharper, like this. So like this, it keeps going. And there are 3 knots in the scheme of the spine. Knots means places where there are blockages, sort of. There's just like a knot. So these knots have to be pierced by the Kundalini Shakti. One is the Brahma Granthi, we call it, which is at the base. Brahma Granthi, once it's pierced by the Shakti of Kundalini, that person attains steadiness and discipline in his sadhana. He will not waver anymore. Okay, he can sit for long hours. Not only that, he has the discipline to carry on. His mind doesn't run around oh, I'm feeling bored today, I will not do the practice. No, once that stage is crossed, it will manifest in his life as somebody who's very steady. Then there's the Vishnu Granthi, which is in the heart, deep inside the heart, behind the Anahata Chakra. Vishnu Granthi, once it is opened, energy pierces, then you start having some sort of communication with the deity. Okay. Below the Vishnu Granthi, deity will not communicate. There are other things that can communicate, by the way. And finally, there is the Rudra Granthi, that is the forehead. Once that is pierced, then you enter into the Shahasrar, which is a 1,000 petaled lotus. Basically, then you are, this is like the cremation ground. Okay. Then you have transcended life. And there it is Shiva and Parvati, or the cosmic formation of the deities sitting.
What is Samadhi?
Samadhi is single pointed absorption into a deity or a thought or a spiritual idea or a mantra. Single pointed. There's no wavering. It can only come when the Kundalini is awake. These are all linked things. This is not separate channels. Eventually one understands. Not everybody will understand, because you must have the psychological development in your mind to be able to tie these things together, which is why the role of the guru, only few individuals can follow this. Rest need not understand, but you can experience them.
As you keep progressing down this tantric path, are you able to see layers of reality that you weren't able to see earlier?
Any spiritual path. Once you start developing your vision, your auditory senses, this and that, there is a subtle aspect to this. There's a physical aspect of this. Like physically you're talking to somebody, seeing. There's a subtle aspect to this. That subtle aspect will get activated. For example, in some of the descriptions of Ma Tara, she's known as, she's doing Attahasa. Attahasa is a loud laughter. At a very advanced stage of Upasana of Tara, the sadhaka will hear that Attahasa, literally hear that laughter of the deity. It's a fierce laughter, but before that you have to be steady enough to take that, so that it doesn't cause, somebody who's not fit for it will get a nervous breakdown. Okay. And one has to remember that when these things manifest to the Upasaka, there will be corresponding reflections of it around the Upasaka also.
As in?
It's very important. Otherwise, how will you differentiate who is actually mad and who is an Upasaka? A mad man can say, I am hearing various things. Upasaka is also saying that I am hearing the Attahasa of Ugratara, or I am hearing the sound of a, pile or something. Well, how do you differentiate between the two? Because what is inside is also outside. As your consciousness changes, there are going to be changes outside. By looking and observing those changes, the signs, you will know that actually, is it progress or is it something you are degrading? And that is where, since most upasakas start this path new, and obviously you don't know, it's a new field. For everybody it's a new field. That's where the guru becomes so important, because he or she knows the pitfalls, knows how to judge, knows which is the point to stress, which is the point to ignore. What is it that you should, there will be on the path, people will have hundreds of experiences. It's natural. Some people have a more, there is another thing, and again, Sri Aurobindo beautifully mentions this. All upasakas can be, categorized into two parts. One is the Ishvara and the Ishwari, which is the Purusha, one who has a little bit more psychologically, the masculine tendencies psychologically, and one who has the more feminine tendencies. This concept also comes in Vajrayana Buddhism too, by the way. So one who has the more feminine tendencies, and by tendency I mean it could be male or female, it's got nothing to do with the physical gender, okay, will start getting psychic visions, abilities, this, that, very fast. The one with the more masculine tendencies may not get any vision, may not get any psychic abilities, nothing, but will get to samadhi faster. Will have a single pointed concentration, will be able to absorb themselves into the practice, forgetting the world around easily. Okay. Eventually these two will blend together. It's not that one is separate from the other, but these understandings are important. Otherwise, for a person who has a tendency to see visions, for example, very quickly they start a practice of a deity, they're seeing dreams and visions and this and that. Until that is streamlined, until that is organized in a way where it makes sense, that person will go completely haywire. Because experiences are nothing until they cause a realization, and a realization is useful to the extent that it causes a transformation. That is the final goal. You cannot forget the final goal. That is why philosophy becomes so important in everything. Philosophy is the Google map through which you will reach somewhere. If you don't have that map, you are heading towards Himalaya, you will end up in Kanyakumari.
Okay.